getting started. Just a minute, guys. We're working so hard behind the scenes to get, the program. We're working on major stuff, new services, all kinds of stuff is going to be changed for the better with the Rocket Driver program. We're doing a lot of stuff that's going to be really groundbreaking stuff that we're working on. It's things that, that would have been a dream, 10 years ago when we started this journey. We're working on doing now for everybody, and we're working on rolling out. It's going to be a whole new program. So, hang tight. We're not, we're going as fast as we can, but we're not in a rush because we don't want to push stuff out that isn't ready. So there will be a lot of new stuff coming in, throughout the year, later in the year. I don't know if it's going to be a month from now, if it's going to be a little more than that. I don't know, but we are working really hard behind the scenes to get you guys some amazing stuff, just like Tom talked about in the webinar here a couple weeks ago. All right, well, it seems like almost everybody's on today. I don't know, because I never know how many people are going to attend. It's never a precise figure, but the topic of today's webinar is hard leads and easy sales. And basically, what I'm talking about is, we'll advance the slide here. Before I get into the whole hard lead, I want to talk about what a normal lead is. Normal leads are what we, most of the time have, what you mostly encounter. As hard leads are not like the majority. It's not like most leads fit this criteria. Normal leads are leads where you have moderate resistance, right? That's when, you call up, there's the gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper might be a secretary or an assistant, or it might even be the prospect themselves, but you're faced with sort of a normal or ordinary level of sales resistance. You're not being, you're hung up on, you're not being thrown off the phone. You're dealing with somebody who may be interested in what it is you have to say. They may be shopping for services that are similar to what you're selling. So they're receptive, right? They're not, confrontational. They're not fighting with you. They're not, they're just the plain Jane lead, the standard lead, the lead that is you're going to encounter day in, day out. And we've all encountered them. Everybody who's done telemarketing, everybody who's set leads, everybody who's gone to trade shows, events, whatever, you've encountered lots of leads like this. These are people who are like weighing options. They're kind of interested. They'll learn from you even if they won't buy from you. And they are being approached by other companies, and they are cognizant of what that entails and what that means. So they look at your service in a comparison light, right? Because they've seen other presentations. These normal leads are typically the leads that have the highest sales resistance. And I'll get into that in a moment. But for now, just think in your head, understand you have a normal lead over here, and then we have the hard lead. And what is a hard lead? Hard leads, and we've all dealt with them, are the leads where you have extreme, let's say moderate to extreme resistance from the gatekeeper. Somebody who does not want to give away their boss's time to you, somebody who is skeptical of you from the get-go, someone who's even critical or hostile towards you, somebody who, is very difficult to pin down a time to talk. They don't have the time of day. They're the people that are difficult to get through to. And these are also people who have like tough personalities, big egos. They're difficult to get on the phone. They're very confrontational. And you also have with hard leads a lot of challenging circumstances. Most of the time, and that's where you have difficulty in setting the appointment, difficulty in getting the prospect to show up when you do set the lead. And it's important in your mind to contrast this, the hard lead versus your normal lead. The normal lead is the shopper, the friendly person, the individual who knows what you're trying to do, doesn't care, learns from you, etc. The hard lead is the person that they consider their time more valuable than you. They're hostile. They don't want to pin down time to talk. They don't want to listen to you. They're just all around the bad lead, right? And I'll tell you something. There's a secret to this, though. Hard leads end up being really great. And there's a reason for this. And that is because when it comes to the closing arena, you're the only person there. When you look at 100 leads and you analyze who bought and who didn't buy and who came close to buying and who didn't come close, and you know, all those factors, you're going to find that the difficult to set leads, if you can fight past the sales resistance, can be closed at a very, very, very high rate. And there's a reason for this. They're not shopping. They don't have lots of sales resistance because not many people can get close enough to them to scam them or to pull one over on them, right? You know, and we've all encountered these. These are the leads that are, you know, very difficult to get through to, but once you get through to them, they open up and they're actually really good leads. And their sales resistance usually goes way down, and it goes down rapidly most of the time. Now, the reason this is an easy sale, again, and you know, I'm repeating some things I said, is you have an empty closing arena. You're dealing with non-shoppers. You're dealing with people that are not looking around at other companies. You're, again, the only company there. They a lot of times have sales naivety, right? They haven't been through a lot of demos. They haven't been through this because they push all those salespeople away before they can be prospected to, before they can be demoed. There's much easier closing also with these type of leads. And not just easier closing because, you know, it's easier to, you know, get through to them. They're easier to close because less people have tried to close them. Then you have also a tendency, not a rule, but a tendency for much higher profit closing. And what I mean by that is much of the time when you're dealing with these kinds of leads, it's much more profitable because there's that lack of sales. There's that sales naivety combined with the closing arena, combined with usually they have gone longer lengths of time between purchasing whatever you're selling. If you're selling a roof, these are the people that, you know, they haven't bought a roof until it was falling in on their head because they scared all the other salespeople away. When you come in there, you can sell them easily. When it comes to a website, this is the company that has a website from the late 90s. And you're the only one coming through and brave enough, essentially, to deal with them. And I don't mean to, you know, I don't mean to like scare you guys. I don't mean to mischaracterize, you know, a hard lead as like a psychopath or something like that. You're not dealing with Jeffrey Dahmer here. We're talking about prospects that are difficult gatekeepers, difficult lead sets, difficult to have demos with. Maybe they have to have their demo at night. Maybe they can't meet during the day. But the point is, the overarching point here is that there are not other companies in the sales arena, you know, that you have to compete and fighting war against. Okay, you're there all by yourself. And so because of that, again, you're going to have a much higher chance of closing them. And I'll go over this, the key points. You know, the harder a lead is to set, the less people are going to set it. And this has to deal with weak salespeople versus strong salespeople, right? The harder that lead is to set, the less salespeople will set it. The harder the personality, the less who will challenge it. You get somebody on the phone, why do I need this? I don't think I need this. What the hell are you talking about? You know, you have somebody who comes off like that, a lot of salespeople will go, whoa, and they'll just get out of there. But if you kind of laugh, calm them down, and roll past that kind of stuff, you're going to be every time you do that, you're putting yourself into more and more and more clear airspace, but there's more space between you and the last salesperson who didn't try. Higher raises your chances. The more difficult the circumstance, the less who follow. And this is just common sense, but it's also true. Less people will follow a lead that is difficult. Most salespeople, when you look at the broad preponderance of salespeople, the great preponderance of them that are out there, they are looking to cherry pick. They're looking for easy sales. They are not looking to get into or go into situations where they have to work very hard to get the sale. They're looking to have that sale basically served to them on a platter. And if you are in that situation where you're having to, deal with this and you're having the salespeople that are, you know, you're having to go up against salespeople who are like this, you're going to wind up coming out on top just about every time, because less competitors are there, and less competitors, like the screen says, equals increased chances, but not for the faint of heart. You do have to, you know, steel yourself sometimes in sales. And I can tell you guys story after story about selling and sales and things I've gone through and seen in my time going out there in the field and elsewhere. But when it comes to sales, a big part of it is persistence. A big part of it is making sure that you follow through, not just follow through on going and getting the sale, but making sure that you look at the situation from the perspective of your prospect and you look at it in comparison to other demos you've had. A lot of people walk into leads and they just have a mentality of, where's the money? Where's the money? And the second that their plan kind of goes off the rails just a tiny little bit, they're out of there. What you have to do is you have to walk in there like open-minded, like, hey, I'm going to have a conversation. I'm going to talk to these people or this person or whatever. I'm going to see if there's an opportunity here, and I'm going to follow it through until I'm thoroughly convinced there's no opportunity here. If you go after every lead like that, and, you know, like we used to say in this industry and others, and I worked in sales, we would go out there, and if a door got slammed in my face the first time, that's when I knew eventually it was going to break down. Because if you have somebody that throws you away like that, that really tries to say no, without being rude, of course, you can persistently get in there. You know that you've just walked past 90% of your competitors. And when it comes to website sales, where we can, you know, upper end sites can be, you know, in the tens of thousands of dollars, a single lead like that can be really good to have. Now, all of this really hinges upon whether or not you are going to persistently attempt to close. Are you going to sit there and persist in going after closing this prospect out? Are you going to, you know, bow down and you know, try one time? Now, I've done a whole bunch of videos, and I hope you guys are checking out YouTube, because actually this is going to be up on YouTube. Kind of funny. Somebody's going to see this there. But if you guys want to check out YouTube, I've done a lot of videos, and we're putting up 2 of them every day. I just did one about, you know, attempting to close and closing techniques. And I also did the webinar last week or 2 weeks ago about closing techniques as well. It's important that you have your closing techniques down, but it's what's more important even than having your closing techniques down is that you use those closing techniques, the ones you do know, over and over again in, you know, succession to try to get a close out of your prospect. You have to sometimes really work hard to convert that prospect into a client. And, you know, it's very seldom that, you know, you do one pass and then you close right away. It's almost always going to take quite some time to do it. It's not going to happen right off the bat. Hard leads may have less sales exposure and be closed down to shopping. Therefore, they are less familiar with sales tactics and techniques and are easier to close. And it's absolutely true. When you talk about, you know, your hard to sell people, they're usually way less likely to be shoppers. And they're way less likely to be familiar with sales techniques and tactics, even if they're salespeople themselves. And this speaks to another point. You know, the easiest people to sell are salespeople. I'm not kidding you guys. There really is a fact. Ask any sales trainer, veteran salesperson, etc. The easiest people to sell to are salespeople, because salespeople are very open to conversation, to being chatty. They're very open to the process itself. And for whatever reason, it's just one of those things. Very often you wind up with a lot of your sales coming from people who either are salespeople or were salespeople in a past career. So you're going to have to factor that in too. Anyhow, that's going to conclude this little presentation phase. I really wanted to focus today, guys, on talking to you, you know, taking your questions and talking to you guys about, you know, your broad perspectives upon sales, your broad perspectives upon training, what it is you guys would like to see me do more of, what it is you'd like to see us put out there, any type of videos you'd like to see created, any type of content, anything. And tell me your stories. How is it going out there? Fire off in the chat. I'll be happy to answer any and all questions that you have. Let's see here. John asks, how can we be sure we're dealing with a hard lead and not a, okay, not an easy lead, not a soft lead? Well, you know, it's not like you can be, you know, sure, so to speak. These aren't hard and fast rules. What I'm really talking about in this whole presentation is you're going to have these leads that come up that are difficult, and it's just a matter of understanding that the more difficult the lead is to set, the easier it is to sell. So usually with hard leads, it's difficult up front, but then after a while, it becomes easier and easier, right? It's like, you know, it's almost like cracking a nut, right? You have to break through the outer shell, but once you get through the outer shell, it's very easy. It's like an egg. It has a shell, and then on the inside, it's soft. That's kind of how it is with these type of leads. It's kind of what it's like to deal with that. You know, these are leads that are difficult initially, but ultimately they become very easy to deal with. And I hope that answers sort of the question. It's not, yeah, it's not about, you know, having a real difficult process of sort of delineation. You know, there's no real process of delineation between, you know, the hard lead and the soft lead. And I'll tell you guys from my personal experience, why I wanted to talk to you guys about this is because, you know, a lot of times people are going out there, and not just with Rocket Driver, but in general, they're going out there and they're focusing upon, you know, their leads, and they're looking at the leads, and they're trying to cherry pick. They're looking at the leads and saying, why, you know, which one of these is going to be the easiest lead to deal with, when they should be asking which is going to be the most lucrative. You know, they should be asking, how much money can I get out of the lead? Who cares what's the easiest lead is? Find yourself the lead that's going to profit you the most, put in the effort, go and close them out, walk away with a giant chunk of change. That's the name of the game. The name of the game is not trying to find the sort of easiest, simplest sort of demo set or lead to sell that there is, because if you're searching in that way, you're never going to ultimately be satisfied.